ultimately it would be most helpful if the Ukrainians and the Russians spoke directly with each other, even with the Americans as mediators, but not through shuttle diplomacy going back and forth. But part of the problem for why that hasn't happened is that that's been tried twice. It was done with the Minsk agreements, and then we found out from the Ukrainian president and then Angela Merkel of Germany and Francois Hollande of France that neither the Ukrainians nor their European guarantors actually intended to implement it. And then it happened again at Istanbul, right after the special military operation was launched by the Russians, and the Ukrainians walked away from that. And currently, there is an executive order by President Zelensky that forbids him or any other Ukrainian official from actually engaging in direct negotiations with the Russians. So it's not because the Russians and the Americans want to keep the Ukrainians out, it's that there's a law that forbids them to communicate directly. Once Zelensky rescinds that law, maybe then the next steps will be taken. That remains to be seen. But the bigger picture here, I think, is the following. The Trump administration has decided that it wants to extricate itself from the Ukraine debacle. And listening to Witkoff's interview with Tucker Carlson, what struck me was the very business-like transactional attitude that the administration is taking to this whole conflict. He spoke in terms of business plans and benefits and losses. The Americans want out, and that explains this rush and this sort of stumbling over very important components of any ceasefire, because the Trump administration just wants to get out as soon as possible. And if the Europeans want to continue with funding the war, then the administration here in D.C. is just going to let them do it. So I think that's where the misunderstandings lie. So it's in everyone's interest to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible and put an end to this.